cocaine. Let me get you to stand up here. What do you think about all this?
Well, I think we should, it's a serious problem, but my concern is if there was a rock house in my neighborhood, if I reported, how much danger that it puts me in as a senior citizen?
Fair question.
It's a good question. My experience in, let's say, 20-odd years in this town, encouraging people to call and tell us, and then of course creating a responsibility, we've got to be discreet about it, is we've never had a neighbor hurt. We have done some things that the neighbors were not involved in, and then somebody gets their tire slashed or a rock through the window because the crook thought that the neighbors did, ironically. But the level of risk to you is really very low. We never act on the basis of just one complaint. We catalog these things so we get a fix, because we could get pulled into the middle of a grudge. One neighbor doesn't like the other and calls him a dope dealer or some such. So our recent record is impeccable in that sense. The neighbors are faring very well.
Okay, there's one thing I want to know. You said something about a heroin thing back in the 70s, and then they brought up the cocaine thing, and I'm going to differentiate cocaine and crack, and now the crack thing. But if the crack thing ever does disappear, what's next? There's always something else that's going to follow. I
have a hunch that it will be designer drugs, you know, American technology at work again. I think we'll no longer have to go overseas. We'll be cranking it out increasingly down home on the farm.
I think we have to realize that we have a jail sitting downtown that's not being used, and I think it can be used. And I think it's about time to stop blaming the police department for not doing their job and blame yourself when you know there's a crack house and you sit back and you don't want to pick up that phone.
Well, I'm personally acquainted with a drug dealer, and they feel that the penalties in dealing drugs are a laugh. And until we make the penalties so stiff that they don't want to deal drugs, we're never going to solve the problem. We need to institute the death penalty for those people bringing it across our borders. They are importing death to others. Why shouldn't they take the same risk themselves? And we need stiff penalties for those that deal on a local level.
Mark, I have a feeling that if you were opposed to the 5-year minimum prison sentence, that you're not going to necessarily agree with this lady's statement that we should have the death penalty.
Well, my experience has always been with all types of crimes, there's always a deterrent out there because there's a death penalty for aggravated murder, there's terms in prison. When my clients are out committing crime, they don't expect to be caught. They don't expect it to serve time. It doesn't matter whether it's 3 days or 20 years. They're not going to get caught. I think, and every time somebody gets caught, there are 3 people who want to fill his or her spot. These people are making incredible amounts of money.
But Mr. Mostel, don't we seem to be more concerned with the rights of the criminals than the rights of the victims? It seems like we don't do anything. They're getting a slap on the hand, so they go right back out.
Well, the rights to the criminal.
I know, you know, it's amazing. It's easy. You can get it anywhere. You can get it in grade schools. That's the level it's starting. We need to start cracking down. We do need to start making mandatory penalties for those people, or else it will keep continuing. And we're not taking into consideration the victims. They're killing people. They're hurting children. They're hurting the community. And we need not to tie the hands of the police so they can go do their job.
Ma'am, it's the same protection. You don't disagree. Ken, I think it's important that people know that the same protection that protects the accused drug dealer is what protects them from the police coming into their house without a warrant, without any probable cause. And just as easily as it's drugs today, it could be something else tomorrow that you feel you have a right to privacy about. And that's the only law that really affects drug dealers, is the right to privacy. You shouldn't have people coming into your house until there's a strong suspicion that you've done something wrong.
Except that no one has the civil right to violate the law. And when you're talking about drugs, you're talking about something that creates crime. In New York and in Washington, they did a survey, Ken, of people who were arrested and arraigned. They found that 75% of all of those people, when they did a medical examination, had drugs in their system. I know, because I used to head the major drug enforcement agency in this country and a big state prison system. And the drug dealers and the drug users have a much higher propensity for crime and for violence. And I just think everyone has a right to have the law respected, but the victims of these criminals have a right too, not to be prisoners in their own homes.
Okay, let's get to the phones real quickly. Go ahead, you're on town meeting.
Sharon, and I'm calling from Prince George, British Columbia, Canada. I have a question for the lawyer. My question is he is saying that murderers, you know, they don't have the same like I'm going on a petition where this woman had in her hand saying that 5-year mandatory. I believe that it should be 5 years because these criminals are out there knowingly killing grade kids and manslaughtering them. And I think something should really be done.
Mark, I think what we're getting here is an indication, thank you to that caller, an indication of the frustration level that people are dealing with today. It's not that people want to refuse, it's not that the public wants to refuse individuals their rights as citizens, but they want their rights to count equally under the law, and there's a feeling here tonight that that is not the case.
I appreciate the people and their helplessness in this situation. However, it doesn't turn around the basic concepts that govern the society. The legislature can devise whatever type of sentence they want. In 1970, when I was in Michigan, people were getting a mandatory 10 years for as little as 1 joint of marijuana. It wasn't appropriate at that point, and it still isn't appropriate for people to serve 10 years for having 1 marijuana cigarette. There has to be some type of gradation and punishment on the accountability of the people. There are people who are sitting making millions of dollars who never touch crack. They have other people way down the line touch it for them.
I think what we need to do as community citizens, as people involved in our living environments, is turn around and challenge those people who make decisions to become involved in drug use. We have to say to our 13-year-olds, to our 20-year-olds, to our 40-year-old people, to whatever age, why are you involved? Make it socially unacceptable. It cannot, I mean, it's undermining our society. And we have to make a choice to become involved, whether it's picking up that phone or saying to that person, why are you choosing to become involved? To making the choice to becoming involved in a rehabilitation clinic. We have to make a choice to be involved.
Okay.
Ken?
We're going to go away for a minute. We're going to go away for a minute. When we come back, we will give you a way, perhaps, for you to become involved. Stay with us, and we will talk about it when we